Hello there, my name is Christopher Brabant, and today I'm here to talk to you about the difference between mental health and mental illness, what I consider the most fundamental part of mental health. When someone dies by suicide or when a major crime is committed is when the term mental health tends to be used in the media, and that can lead people to believe that mental health and mental illness are the same. But they are separate concepts. Mental health is a component of our everyday life, and mental illness is a diagnosed disorder. To showcase the difference between the two, I'm going to turn to the Public Health Agency of Canada. In 2006, they released a publication which does a good job at going over the difference. For this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the definition of these two concepts and see what we can draw from these statements. Let's start with mental health. The definition is as follows. The capacity of each and all of us to feel, think, and act in ways that enhance our ability to enjoy life and deal with the challenges we face. It is a positive sense of emotional and spiritual well-being that respects the importance of culture, equity, social justice, interconnections, and personal dignity. Let's take a minute to unpack the different parts. The first part states that mental health is our ability to feel, think, and act. These are basic components of our everyday life. In order to have strong mental health, these thoughts, feelings, and actions enhance our ability to enjoy life and deal with the challenges we face. As outlined here, mental health is a fairly basic part of who we are. It's our ability to regulate our emotions, thoughts, and actions in order to live a more enjoyable life and deal with challenges such as work or school. The second part of the definition states that mental health is a positive sense of emotional and spiritual well-being. Here we see the inclusion of our spiritual self, and for the sake of clarity I'll mention that spiritual includes things like goals and dreams, and not just religious beliefs. This definition also gives mention to the fact that various aspects of our being all play a role in mental health. Makes sense? Mental health is a component of our everyday life, and our everyday life circumstances influence our ability to enjoy life and deal with challenges. Most people have strong or solid mental health for most days, but they can also struggle from time to time. If some parts of our thoughts, feelings, or actions get in the way of us being happy, like short-term depression, or get in the way of us being productive, like hard-to-beat anxiety, then there may be problems with our mental health. But that is not the same as a mental illness. Now we are going to shift over to mental illness, which focuses on severe problems with mental health. The definition is as follows. Mental illnesses are characterized by alterations in thinking, mood, or behavior, or some combination thereof, associated with significant distress and impaired functioning. Mental illnesses take many forms, including mood disorders, schizophrenia, anxiety disorders, personality disorders, eating disorders, and addictions such as substance dependency and gambling. Now let's go over this definition. Characterized by alterations in thinking, mood, or behavior. So just like mental health, we see that these are basic components of our everyday life. But can you spot the slight difference in words? Mental illness uses more clinical words, such as behavior, while the mental health definition uses more everyday words, like actions. This definition makes the point that these thoughts, moods, or behaviors are associated with significant distress and impaired functioning. This is a key component of mental illness. Struggling mental health may cause you some distress, but mental illnesses cause significant distress and impaired functioning. This includes being unable to get out of bed because of depression, or hearing hallucinations of voices wherever you go because of schizophrenia. The last part of this definition goes over various types of mental illnesses, but I want to draw attention to two key parts. The first is substance dependency and gambling, which are now included in mental illness. The second is you'll see the words used are mood disorders and anxiety disorders, as opposed to depression and anxiety. That's because these would be considered part of mental health. For example, being anxious before a test is normal, even helpful. But having significant impairment caused by anxiety may indicate a mental illness. That's why these words have disorders attached to them, instead of just saying anxiety or depression. So if mental health is our ability to enjoy life and be productive, significant impairment in some way by our thoughts, feelings, or actions may be a mental illness. But just because you're struggling doesn't mean you have a mental illness. All mental illnesses are diagnosed by either a family doctor or a psychiatrist. The DSM-5 is the big book of mental disorders and is used by health professionals around the world. The criteria for each diagnosis varies, but there are 3 aspects that are fairly consistent across most of them. These are significant impairment, length of time, and severity of symptoms. The significant impairment portion was already covered in the mental illness definition, and includes things like being unable to get out of bed or hearing hallucinations of voices wherever you go. Length of time is one of the major differences between a mental illness and a mental health struggle. Mental illnesses will last substantially longer, and this is outlined in their diagnoses. To be diagnosed with depression, you must show certain symptoms for at least 2 weeks, and to be diagnosed with schizophrenia, you must show certain symptoms for at least 6 months. Mental health struggles may impair a person's function, but they won't last nearly as long as a mental illness does. That said, mental health professionals may forego the time criteria if the symptoms are severe enough, so see your doctor either way. There's also a difference in how strong the symptoms are. Let's take anxiety as an example. There's a difference between being nervous about a test, enough so that you feel compelled to study, and throwing up in a bathroom before every exam you take because of anxiety. People with mental illnesses experience more severe symptoms than what would be considered part of normal or usual mental health struggles. That's a lot of information we just covered, so let's recap from the start. Mental health and mental illness tend to be used interchangeably in the media, but are separate concepts. Mental health is our ability to enjoy life and be productive, and mental illness is some significant impairment of that. People may struggle with mental health from time to time, but that doesn't mean someone has a mental illness. If these struggles significantly impair a person's life, last for long periods of time, and have severe symptoms, then it may be a mental illness. Words are how people can differentiate between mental health and mental illness. Watch out for words such as disorder or illness, as these generally indicate someone has been diagnosed. In my own life, I'll always tell people I have an anxiety disorder, because I hope it gives them some context that this is a lifelong condition and not a temporary issue. Other words such as concern, issue, problem, more denote a mental health problem. While these should still be taken seriously, they are different from a mental illness. I hope this video gives you some better understanding into what I consider the most fundamental part of mental health. Understanding this difference can help in understanding why mental health days are important in the workplace, and how people can struggle with anxiety and depression without needing to be diagnosed with a mental illness. As with anything, if you have any concerns, go talk with your doctor. They know much more than I do, and can lead you down that path to enjoy life and face challenges a lot better. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Show certain symptoms. Show certain symptoms. Show certain symptoms. Show certain symptoms. Oh.